How do you practically invite God into your home? And how do you disciple your kids? So we typically talk all things marriage on this podcast, but today I've invited Amy Lowe, who oversees our WinShape Camps for girls and WinShape Camps for families, to join me for a conversation. She's been married coming up on 20 years and has her own kids, but also works in this field. We have a great conversation around how husbands and wives can really mirror for their kids how to know and love and follow Jesus. I hope you enjoy this conversation. Amy Lowe, welcome to the WinShape Marriage Podcast. Now, I know you work for WinShape, but for those listening and watching who have no idea who you are, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yes, I am Amy Lowe. I oversee WinShape Camps for girls and family camp. Okay. So we get to plan camp all year long and then go to camp in the summer and experience it with families. And it's so fun. So I've been doing that for 8 years.
Okay.
I'm married to Matt, and we are about to have our 20th wedding anniversary.
Nice. That's a big milestone.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
And we have 2 teenagers, which is so fun.
Okay.
And before I came to WinShape, I worked for a publishing company for 12 years. So it's just been a wonderful journey of getting to do different kinds of ministry. Mm-hmm. And now I get to see my family grow up and go to camp, and it's so fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I wanted to have you on the WinShape Marriage Podcast, and for this episode particularly, is because I wanted to talk a little bit about this combination of marriage and parenting, mm-hmm. And discipling kids and how all of those things align. And so I know, as you mentioned, personally, you are married, you have children, but then professionally you work in this world of mm-hmm. camp and kids and helping bring the gospel to kids as well. And so I feel like you were the perfect person kind of to mesh those worlds together. And so excited for our conversation today to just talk through kind of how those worlds collide.
Yeah. So. And I'm always learning too and trying new things and trying to grow in that. I mean, we all know that the secret of parenting is that there's no like rule book and we're all just figuring it out as we go. And I'm grateful to work with WinShape, who are so great at like giving us resources and tools and meeting wonderful people and things like that. So I'm in the trenches for sure with everybody else.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know that everyone listening is going to be really tired of hearing me say again, but I think the reason I was also selfishly excited for this episode too is that we have a brand new baby girl at home. Yay. And so we have transitions now from just in the married season into the marriage and parenting season ourselves. And so selfishly, I was like, I want to have this conversation with Amy, and I'm curious her thoughts on some of this as we are entering this season. We certainly don't have teenagers yet, but before you know it,
blink 2 eyeballs.
Yes, we'll be catching up to you. So to kick us off, I wanted to ask very practically, by definition, what does it mean to disciple your children?
I think that word disciple is an intimidating word for people. And so I love that you asked to share practically, because I think it can be like, oh gosh, like that's for the church. I don't know how to do that. Maybe I haven't seen that modeled. And for me, I think what it boils down to is just, hey, I'm walking with Jesus in my own life, and I'm just bringing my kids along into that with me and pointing them to him as I am also like leaning into him. And I don't know, I think that takes the weight off in some, I did go to seminary, but obviously so many parents did not go to seminary, and you don't need a seminary degree to do this. It's just modeling your life after Jesus. He walked with his disciples. He didn't go through books and studies. He just walked with them and went with them and showed them along the way. And I think there's freedom in that because, it just takes the weight off of you as a parent. So just walking with Jesus and showing your kids how to do the same.
Yeah. I really like that simplified version of that. It's kind of brings it back to what you're already doing in your normal day to day. Like you're going to be eating dinner anyways. And so you bring your kids along to eat dinner with you. Like as they get older and they're starting to learn about like tidying up and picking up around the house, it's like you are already putting away your laundry. And so it's not really anything, you're not reinventing the wheel. You're just showing them like, here is how you put away your clothes. And so kind of thinking, okay, well, this can translate very similarly. It's like you are already walking and abiding in Jesus, and it's just showing them really practically how to do so as well. So that leads me to a follow-up question I had, which for you and your family, what are some practical and like tangible examples, if you wouldn't mind sharing, of how you guys have done this with your kids?
When they were little, we had different children's Bibles, and we loved the Jesus Storybook Bible, and we loved just being able to walk them through Bible stories so that they got that biblical worldview and underpinning of like, you know, there is a God. He works in the world. This is how he does it. These are the stories. And I think it's a lot of times easier when they're little because they'll just soak it all in and like love hearing from you and love stories and things like that. But then as they've gotten older, we did family devos at dinner. There's so many great resources out there now. So I think that's such a win for parents. Just go grab a few great resources, see what works best for you. We would buy some, and sometimes they were great, and others we didn't love so much, but we found out what worked for our family. So we did family devos at dinner for a long time, again, when they were younger. And now that they're becoming teenagers, it's a new world for us too. And so we are starting to try to pass the baton for them to be able to do it for themselves. And it's a little bumpy, but we're figuring it out, just like every other parent is trying to do. But we want them to explore God's word for themselves. I heard a number of years ago something that really stuck with me, and I've shared with a number of people, is that a study was done that talked about how a kiddo can stay with the Lord after they're done and off to college and in the real world and a young adult. And they found, young people that were close to the Lord. And they asked them, like, hey, what did you do growing up? And they, like, learned a lot of things, great things that you could do. But the number one thing that was a predictor of this is that they read the Bible for themselves. The end. I mean, that's what it was. And that's what I'm trying to help my teenagers do now. So my daughter's reading through the Psalms at night. A lot of times we have to remind her, but we are like, okay, what Psalm are you in? And she is loving it, but it does take some like, let's do this. Like, let's make this a rhythm. And then our youngest is 13. And so we're really in that transition stage. So I just think trying to help them to discover God's word for themselves and understand it for themselves, and let that be something that they do as they get a little bit older, because I know how important it is and how important it was for me. I mean, I remember growing up reading the Bible at night for myself, and I'm still walking with the Lord. And so it's helping them not see it as this intimidating, big, thick book, but something that I can read. So start with like John, or start with the Psalms, or start in Genesis, I thought that has really helped us. So it's different for different seasons.
Okay. So I hear you saying like it, and don't be afraid to lean into how it might be different in this season, and trying new things, and kind of picking up, keeping what's working in some ways, and then putting down maybe what's not.
And every season for us, that's a pro tip that I have grasped, is that, every January it's we can kick off with something new. Every fall, it's a kickoff to something new. And so those are two big times of the year that you can try something new. And sometimes it might work, and other times it might not work, but capitalize on those opportunities to try something new with your family as they grow.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So in this endeavor of wanting to disciple your children, wanting them to take ownership of their faith on their own as well, you're doing it in theory with your spouse. So this is the WinShape Marriage Podcast, right? And so I'm curious your thoughts on how you and your spouse can get on the same team, maybe get on the same team if you aren't, or remain on the same team and remain like faithful in that fight, in that endeavor together.
Yeah. That's the beautiful thing about marriage is that sometimes I'm more gung-ho about it than Matt, and sometimes he's more gung-ho about it than me. And we, and sometimes we're like, oh, that didn't work. I'm so discouraged. And then the other one can like pick the ball up. But I think communication is huge. We love the marriage retreats that y'all have, and we go to them regularly. And that really is a moment where it doesn't have to be a WinShape Marriage Retreat, but like getting away for a minute to kind of take a look back at where you've been and where you want to go, just as a regular rhythm has helped us so much. So I definitely encourage that. And if it's a WinShape Marriage Retreat, even better. But those really have been moments. I mean, we had one this past fall, which was a great time for us to just be like, okay, it's about to be the fall. Let's kick it off. What do we want to do different? And we changed some things. And so I think just being able to adjust in that way. But we also tag team a lot. Yeah. There's things that Matt's better at than me, and there's things that I'm better at than him. And our kids respond better for different, every kid responds differently to your parent in different ways. And so it might be that I'm more hands-on with my daughter and he's more with the son because it's just like easier that way. So I think tag teaming and communication has been really key for us.
Okay. Yeah. So keeping just that open line with one another. Hey, what do you see that's working well? Yes. What's not working well? Is there something that you would like to try or not?
And recapping each other. We go on dates. Yeah. Go on a date with your spouse. You know that, but we go every Friday brunch. Okay. We go because Matt doesn't work on Fridays. He works on a Sunday, and so Sunday to Thursday. And so Fridays we go to brunch, and we always have a list. Like we always have a list that we're going through, and a lot of it's like, what do we have coming up? What are we going to do? And what's on the horizon? But it's also like, oh, I had this conversation with Claire the other day, and let me tell you what she said, and vice versa for Jack. So using that to kind of stay in touch is exactly what you were saying.
I love that. Cool. Yeah, keeping those lines of communication open. And we've talked on this podcast already this season about how it doesn't have to be like a set in time. Some people think it's got to be like this Friday night dinner. I love that you guys, for what's worked for you and your family and your marriage, is like do a Friday brunch. Yeah. So that's really fun too. Yeah. Okay, so you were talking about how it has looked different in different seasons of life, different seasons of marriage, and different seasons of your kids' ages. So I know a question that a lot of people have is just, how do I talk to my kids about God? And obviously that looks different in age-appropriate ways. You might not be talking to your kids about God as your 4-year-old the same way that your 14-year-old. Right. You might be, and they likely are going to be asking different questions too, within their frame of reference and like what their world is in that moment. So now that you do have teenagers, I'm curious if you can kind of revert back for a second and think about, how do you talk to your kids about God, little kids, elementary age, into those teen years as well? Yeah.
That is a great question for so many people to think about. But I would just say, just do it. Just talk about it. I think I did not grow up in a home that talked about God a lot at home. We went to church every Sunday, but we didn't talk about it at home. So it really was foreign to me in a lot of ways, and we had to figure it out. And I think just for us, even just talking about God, like in your regular life, of course we do. I talked about the Jesus Storybook Bible. We loved things like Bob Goff's young children's stuff that he has. Our kids ate that up. They loved that. And so, finding something to go through for sure as a regular rhythm, but also just talking about God throughout your day. And I think for us, it really is just a flowing out of my relationship with the Lord and Matt's relationship with the Lord. Like they see us reading, like they know that I'm reading through the Bible, and they know I just got to the New Testament, and because I talk about it, and then Matt's reading in the Bible in the morning. They see him like reading his Bible, and I just think it's just talk about it. I think it can be so intimidating for us to be like, what's the right words to say? And, making sure they understand these 5 things about God. It's like, well, just what are you learning and what are you growing in, and talk to them about it. And I think that just takes the pressure off of feeling like you have to have a checklist.
Yeah. Invite them into what you're learning and discovering. I feel like that might look like at times saying, I don't know.
Yes.
The answer to that. Like
100%.
Can we find out that answer together?
100%.
Can we go look for it together?
Yes.
And to me, that's a similar vein to what you're saying of that pressure of like, it's okay if you don't have all the answers.
Yep.
Just we can go seek them out, as a family.
Yep. What do we know about the Lord that's true? We can start there.
Yeah.
And then we can ask questions and discover together, and that's okay.
So making God a very natural part of your family's rhythms. So a couple of things I've heard you share so far in our conversation, the family devos, finding resources that your family is really grasping onto that your kids are enjoying.
Yes.
Mirroring, letting them see what you are doing. Do you have any other examples that you would like to share of just ways that you have made God a natural part of your conversations, of your rhythms in your family?
Yeah, I'm always looking for ideas. So hopefully this will help some people.
Okay.
One thing that we have started to do, because our kids are older now and they go to, I don't know, we call it big church.
Yeah.
And so they're sitting next to us in the service and listening to the sermon. And so it's very natural for us to talk about that at lunch on Sundays. So I think that's an easy thing. We're all hearing the same thing. It probably hits us differently. And it's just something to talk about at lunch after on Sunday. So that's a fun thing that we've started to do. And sometimes it's easier than others depending on the topic, but it's always like on our mind of something that we could do. Another one we've done is conversation cards, which I know there's so many out there, but we just find ourselves at the dinner table and it's like, I want to have a meaningful conversation at dinner.
Yeah.
But Marlee, they're teenagers. And so we are.
What's meaningful to you?
We are cringy and we are, lame and all, it's just, that's the season we're in and we're embracing it and it's fine. But we have started a conversation card jar.
Okay.
And here's the thing. Anybody can write a question.
Okay.
So if
it's like submitted, like
I just write a question on a card and throw it in there. We just make sure it's got full of cards.
Okay.
And if they whine about the question, you know what I say? You didn't write a question. If you want to write a question and put it in there, feel free.
Yeah.
And we've had, they write silly questions, but if you're not going to write a question, then mom's question is in there and it's going to be like, what was one of the, and they always want to put them back, but and then find another one. But like what's on your mind that you want to pray about more in your life, and let them talk about it. And so it's a way to make the dinner table conversation, and we always catch up on our day and we always see what's going on. But then when we're done with that, it's like, okay, pull a card out. Here it comes. Yeah. And that's been really fun for us. That's cool. Always a way to mix it up, and you can find great questions on the internet. And then I think,
and I love that, like giving them personal autonomy too, to like write in their own questions. And then they're like, this is a collaborative process.
Yes.
Like we're all inviting conversation here. So if you don't like my question,
that's right. And we learn new things about each other and we laugh. And it's really fun. I'm trying to think of the question last night. One of my favorite ones is we have a dog named Benny, and what the question was, if Benny had a job, what would it be? And so it's just hilarious, like the questions that you ask. But that way you can have fun and then also throw in those serious ones too, and hopefully get some good conversation around it if they're brave enough to answer it. But then, we're getting, our daughter's getting older. Mm-hmm. She's a sophomore in high school right now. And so one thing that we're really going to start leaning into is, she's about to decide colleges, which is probably one of your very biggest decisions as a young person that can weigh on you. And she's already has an anxious personality. So Matt and I have already talked about how like we need to start regularly. It's like starting now, like praying about that decision and inviting the Lord into it, like now before it gets so far down the line. But I think that's going to hopefully teach her that, hey, whenever you make big decisions, especially, we need to invite the Lord into it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that'll be something we're figuring out how we're going to incorporate that, but that's on our horizon for something that's coming up next that we've got to tackle.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that too, of just thinking ahead too, of like, okay, and not wishing away the present, but considering what is coming down the horizon, and to prepare your heart as a parent, and kind of to prepare in your marriage too, of like, okay, how can we support one another in this big thing coming?
Yes.
How can we be on the same team in supporting our kid in this big
Yes.
thing coming?
Yes.
And again, how can we be mirroring and setting an example of how that we're, as a family, inviting the Lord into this as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. You briefly mentioned it, so I'm curious to hear a little bit more about it.
Yeah.
But any advice for parents who maybe, so two things, could have either grown up in a household where they altogether weren't believers, and so they came to know the Lord as an adult, or similar to maybe your situation, as you said, they grew up like God was a Sunday morning and Wednesday evening. And otherwise, it just really wasn't practical and a rhythm in our family. So advice for the person who didn't grow up with this kind of just like, God is just in our home all the time, you know, he is, but not really living that out.
Yeah.
How do I do that if I'm coming from this world where that feels so foreign to me?
Yeah. Well, like I said, that was me growing up. And so it was Matt and I deciding like, we don't want our home to be that way. We want to talk about the Lord in our house. But it was hard because we didn't have that model growing up. And so I would just say, can you think of somebody that you know that does it well? Maybe that's a little bit older than you, that has older kids. We were very lucky to be in a church for a long time, in a really small church in Tennessee, with a pastor and his wife that were just wonderful people and had boys that were older than our kids. And so we were able to just like watch them, interact with them. And, you know, we weren't in their house all the time, but we could see how they brought up the Lord with their boys. And I think seeing examples like that helps you to like learn tips and tricks. So that is one thing. But I think for me personally, that has helped me the most is just making sure that I have a vibrant relationship with the Lord. And I'm just going to show that to the kids and talk to them about it. Because if I have a vibrant relationship with the Lord, it's going to spill over in my natural like conversation. And that's something I can control, is, you know, taking that time to read through the Bible and pray and all of those kind of things and give my parenting to the Lord. And then again, it just takes the pressure off that. But Marlee, we started a podcast with WinShape Camps called Carpool Conversations. And that is really one of the heartbeats of what that podcast is all about.
Yeah.
I'm on your side of the podcast room when it comes to that. I'm interviewing people, but we're asking them questions and learning like tidbits about different things. And then we're figuring out, okay, how do I take this conversation back to my kid? And it's like all kinds of things. It's like anger and dealing with loss and creativity and age and stage things. There's so many different things that we talk about. But I'm just saying there's resources out there so that you don't have to feel all alone, and that you're you know, doing this in a vacuum where you can't get feedback. Like there are resources out there that you can go to, and WinShape Camps Carpool Conversations is one of them that you can go grab. And we hope that helps, because I need that help. Every parent needs that help in different seasons. So
So, and tell us real quickly about, so it's Carpool Conversations for are the parents the primary audience for that? Okay. So it's more for the parents to hear things, and then it can kind of spur carpool conversations with their children. Okay.
Because you need things to talk about at the dinner table, and you need things, and we always end with a question of the day so that you can bring it back to your kiddo and ask them a question about something.
Okay.
Or in the carpool line, you need something to talk about. You can ask them a question, but it gives a parent some information to like have in their brain that helps them to be able to go back to the child and have an intentional conversation that helps point them to Jesus. And really at the end of the day, a lot of it is like, okay, what characteristics and qualities do I want my kiddo to have by the time they're 18 and they leave the house? Well, okay, that's great. Let's make a list. And now let's try to work on that list so that by the time they get 18, they have maybe not all of them, but they have a good amount of those characteristics and qualities. And so that's some of the heartbeat of what we're doing with Carpool Conversations. So we're just taking it bite-sized piece at a time to help parents. And I think there's 3 seasons out already. So there's plenty. You can go back there and find the ones that look good to you, the topics.
We'll definitely link that in the description of this as well. Definitely love that shout out, and glad to know that is a resource as well. Obviously, we are speaking to couples about their marriage, right? And hopefully garnering a healthy foundation, in their marriage. And then obviously want to send them your way as well to kind of grab some information and resourcing around parenting and raising up kiddos and all the things too. So love that you guys are doing that. I am curious. So I know a lot of times with children in their faith journey, sometimes you can fall into this trap of, church, like they'll get it at church, or if they attend a Christian school, they'll get it at school, or if they go to a summer camp, it's like they'll get that at camp. And I know the theme kind of this conversation has been like, let's not outsource our kids to these things. And how do we disciple them and raise up children who know and love the Lord in our home? However, those are all great things as well. And so you work for WinShape Camps, right? You help put on these camps. And so I am curious your perspective on kind of that balance between what you're doing in your home and then kind of what is being outsourced, so to speak, to those other avenues.
I see us as one big team, like Matt and I, or maybe quarterbacks. But then we have all of this team of people, and so does everybody listening. Like there's a group of people that are here, fans of your kid and want them to succeed and can speak into their lives in different ways. I mean, for us, I'll take all the positive influences I can get. And, when they're younger, us as parents are the primary, voice. But then as they get to be the ages that my kids are, peers become more of the primary voice. And there's only so much we can do to control the peers in their life. And so that makes it maybe more challenging, but even more important to find those older, godly people that are speaking into them. And for us, church is a big one. Obviously, we go to church, but then we have found that serving at church has been really beneficial for them because they're able. We have a great children's ministry, and once the kiddos become middle school and high school, they can serve in the children's ministry, which a lot of churches do that. And if they don't, there's probably another place that they can serve. And I just think that has been great for our kids to be able to serve alongside these wonderful people that are teaching kids and getting to play a part in that, and they learn too. Like they relearn the Bible stories at the same time as they're helping teach it. And so that's been really great for us and our family. But then also, camp is huge for us. And there's something about those 20-something college students when you go to camp and they say the same thing that I am saying to my kids, but they just hear it from them. And I tell parents all the time that send their kids to camp, I'm like, it'll just be our little secret. Like that I've been telling you that for years, but for some reason the camp counselor will say it and it will stick with them. And so take advantage of those opportunities because they're only going to help your child become a more well-rounded believer because they get to hear all of these other experiences and be with all these other people. And so come to WinShape Camps. You don't have to come to WinShape Camps. There's other camps across the country. But we put pen to paper on how much time a kiddo is in church on the regular these days. And then we mapped out how many hours we have them at camp for 1 week when they're not asleep. Because we're talking about Jesus all the time at camp. And they are with us at camp for more hours in 1 week than they are in church an entire year.
Whoa.
And so you think about like, oh, camp's not that big of a deal. It's just 1 week. And it's like, no, they are like deep in it for a whole week,
that's
away
cool.
from their technology, away from like any negative influences, hopefully.
Yeah.
They're surrounded by people that love Jesus and are pointed to him in like every single part of the camp day. And that's just 1 week. We also have 2-week camp. And some people send kids to multiple camps in the summer. And so don't downplay the importance of that, because it's like a secret sauce of wonderful content, getting off your phones and getting with young people that love the Lord and outside in nature. So I just think take advantage of all of those opportunities that you can. And it does help take the weight off of you. We're going to do our jobs as parents, but also like I want a tribe of people.
Yeah. Oh man, I love that. Wow, what a crazy, cool
Isn't that crazy?
statistic.
I know.
Yeah, that is awesome. Okay, so the last couple of things I wanted to chat about was this idea of praying with your kids, praying with your family. I know you like guest authored a blog for us before on how to pray for your kids or prayers to pray for your kids. And so, I want to kick that question to you now and just ask first, how do you pray with your kids? Like, how do you bring your kids into praying?
I would just say, like, our time right now, it hasn't always been this time, but our time right now is at dinner.
Okay.
I know that it used to be before bed for us, but then we transitioned it to dinner, and we use it as a time just to, obviously pray for the meal, but then we talk about what can we pray for each person, and they share, and we might. It's funny, we laugh because sometimes we learn things about like family members and they're like, I didn't know that. I'm like, sorry, we forgot to tell you, but we need to pray for it. And so I would just say find some place in your day to pray with your family. I know I have other friends that we work with that they pray in the morning before they go to school, or they pray in the car on the way to school. But at least just one time a day, just find a time to make it a regular piece, and then it won't be as weird if you like add in other times of the day, because like my daughter is anxious, and so sometimes at night she'll get anxious, and so or things will happen that will make her just worried and concerned, and so we remind her that like we should be praying about those things and pray with her then, and so it doesn't make those times feel, again, I don't know another word to say, but weird, because we're already praying regularly as a family. So I think just find a time, sometime. It doesn't have to be anything big, or, like you don't have to read a liturgy or anything like that. You just, let's figure out what we want to pray for and pray for it on the regular. And I think that has helped us.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is maybe the biggest prayer that you find yourself right now praying for your kids?
I mean, I think it's just always been that they would love and follow Jesus in their life. And so I'm going to keep praying that. And, that's what the Lord wants to. He loves them more than we do. And then just that God would help me and Matt to be the best parents that we can be to them. We're not perfect. We mess up all the time, but we want to hopefully model a healthy marriage and just people that love the Lord and have figured out that the best life you can live is the one that walking with the Lord, both of us get to work in wonderful places with wonderful people, and we love our life. And it's because we follow after the Lord, and he's like so good to us. And so I think just showing them that, but more than anything, just praying that they would love and follow Jesus in their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. As we wrap our time together today, thinking through this whole conversation of just how to just bring God into your family, like bring him into your family rhythm. He's there, and he's excited and willing and wanting to be. And so as we just talk through all these things about how to do that, practical examples, real tangible just takeaways from this conversation. I've definitely got some things like churning in my head that I'm like, this was great. I'm gonna save that one, especially as she gets a little bit older. You know? But do you have a final thought or just a takeaway that you would love to leave our listeners with today?
I think just give your parenting back to the Lord. I think so often I try to take the reins back and try to put that pressure on myself and feel like, I messed up again today, or I didn't say that the right way, or I'm trying to introduce a new rhythm and it's like hitting a brick wall, you know? And I think just that can be discouraging and make you want to quit. But just reminding yourself that like, I'm doing the best I can. I am trying, and I don't like this. The weight of my kid turning out to be somebody that loves the Lord. I have a part to play in it, but like the Lord cares more about that than I do, and He wants the best for them. But ultimately, it's their decision, and I cannot. I just gotta let go, and so I just think giving your parenting to the Lord on the regular is something that I always have to keep doing because I want to take it back and I want to put that pressure on myself, and then I feel defeated, and it's just a vicious cycle. So we want to keep giving that to the Lord and just keep it up. I think I always say 2 steps forward and 1 step back is still progress. Like it's still moving in the right direction. Keep it up, and you might not see fruit for a long time. I get the privilege of talking to parents that are like finishing up their camp journey and their kids are becoming young adults and working staff with us and things like that. And they're just like, and being a host on the Carpool Conversations podcast, talking to people that are older and along the way from me, and they just are telling the stories of the fruit that they're just now seeing that they maybe didn't see growing up. And so it makes me hopeful for the future with my kids. And it just reminds me that I might not be seeing fruit right this minute, but like keep up the work because it will come. It just might not come as fast as I want it to. Yeah. But we're all just in this parenting journey together, and I'm cheering on the ones that y'all. If you're listening right now, like you are doing it right, you know, like you are. You're listening to this conversation. You wouldn't have made it this far. You are crushing it probably. Like you should come on this podcast and share your thoughts, because like the fact that you're listening and you care and that you're taking steps, like you are doing the right thing. And I just think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. Yeah. Especially as moms. And we got to give that to the Lord. Just keep taking it 1 step at a time. That's what I'm going to do. And it might not be perfect all the time, but that's okay.
Yeah. You're going to surrender it to Him. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for sharing with us some personal examples from your family and how y'all are doing it, and seeing some success in things, and just your experience here at WinShape as well is so valuable. So we'll definitely make sure to link Carpool Conversations as well, and information about camps in general and family camp.
Come to camp. Yeah. Family camp's a great thing. Come on. You get to have camp with your whole family. You know, it's so fun.
Yeah. I've heard such good things about it. Yeah. So we'll definitely link all of that, but really grateful for your time again, and just appreciative. So thank you.
Thanks, Marlee.
Yeah. And thank you guys so much for tuning in to another wonderful episode of the WinShape Marriage Podcast. We're so grateful for you guys listening, and we will be right back here next week. We hope that conversation blesses your marriage. If you're loving the WinShape Marriage Podcast, will you please take a moment to make sure you're subscribed? You may be a faithful listener and not realized you aren't subscribed. It really helps us out. Also, if you've enjoyed these conversations and they've impacted your marriage, please rate and review this podcast. One listener said, "Thanks so much for pouring into couples with godly wisdom and practical equipping."